All right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you guys for coming back. Well, this is part 2 of the African American Muslim Alliance of Tampa Bay, our Islamic studies. I'm your I guess your teacher, you could say, your host, Brother Shahid. And I'm going to be teaching today the signs, symptoms, and cures of the spiritual heart, purification of the heart. So I'm going to show the book here for those in Zoom, and for those on Facebook Live. This is the book that we'll be reading from. It's based off of the classical book written by Imam al-Malud, Matharat al-Qalub, or the purification of the heart, the signs, symptoms, and cures of the spiritual disease of the heart. So we understand the reasons why we must purify our heart. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us that there is a lump of flesh. If it's sound, the whole body's sound. And if it is corrupt, the whole body is corrupt. Isn't it the heart? So the wise person would realize that the work has to be done on the heart. Okay, the work has to be done on the heart, and that no one will gain felicity before Allah if they have a diseased heart. Okay, if they have a diseased heart, no one will gain felicity. No one will enter into Jannah, into paradise, with a diseased heart. So it's of the utmost importance that we begin to work on our heart, to purify ourselves, to remove the disease of the heart, and to replace them with praiseworthy characteristics, right? To remove the blameworthy characteristics and to replace them with the praiseworthy characteristics. And this is done through purification of the heart. Okay, so I'll begin the class. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, with the most sincere intentions, right? To purify our heart, to remove those characteristics that are despised by Allah, despised by our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and despised by the believers, and replace them with actions and deeds that are beloved by Allah, that are beloved by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and beloved by the believers. Okay. I began the last class reading the Jibril Hadith. And in the Jibril Hadith, the man that came to and sat to speak to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to tell him about ihsan. And our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that ihsan is to worship Allah as if you see him. Though you do not see him, know that he sees you. Okay. And this is what this science is about. Purifying your inward state so that you see no one but Allah and Allah alone. Okay, that is what this science is about. All right, so the text that we are on the last chapter of the text, which is titled The Root of All Diseases of the Heart. And then what we're going to do next week, or once we finish this chapter, I think it's a long chapter, so it might actually take us 2 classes to complete this chapter. We're going to just simply go to the beginning of the book and start over again, okay? Because the scholars of Islam have told us that, like true study of a book, you have to read a book multiple times, 3, 6, 9 times before the book has its opening, right? These are not books that are just for literary excitement, right? These are books to change our states, okay? So we want to, read them, and then the next go around, we're going to read them and we're going to take notes, right? We're going to take notes and we're going to try to ask and answer the difficult questions so that we can really change our affair. Okay, so let me share my screen here. I have the text here up. And I want to thank those that are with us on Zoom and those that are with us on Facebook Live, so that, this is a very important topic and one that's dear to my heart. So I appreciate you being here with me. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and begin. The root of all diseases of the heart. And this book, for those that have been in the class, realize that this is a poem. As many classical texts are written in poem form, which was easy for memorization. Okay, it's written in poem form, and then the commentary goes along with it. So the root cause of all these diseases is love of the temporal world. This is the opinion of both Al-Halali and Ibn Ashur. Ibn Ata'illah, on the other hand, considered the root cause of every disease to be man's self-satisfaction. Likewise, the root cause of all good qualities is the lack of self-satisfaction. And this conclusion is obvious. Obvious because being dissatisfied with oneself prompts you to seek virtuous character and to vigilantly avoid what is inappropriate. And I'm gonna stop right there, because as I read this, it brings up a point. Okay, what Imam Maulud is saying here is you never become satisfied. You never become satisfied, and you always work on yourself. Right? There's a saying that a sin of a man that is sorrowful for his action and causes him to return and to repent to Allah is better than a good deed of someone that makes that person arrogant, right? And not draw nearer to Allah. So a sin that causes someone to draw nearer to Allah, that makes them unsatisfied with their situation, is better than a good deed that causes someone to feel self-satisfied. Okay. And so as a Muslim, we should never be comfortable. Okay. We should always be working on refining our character. Okay. We should never become comfortable. You can always get better. You can always draw nearer to Allah. Okay. And there is one of the hadith or saying of Abu Bakr, and I don't remember who he was talking to, whether it was Fatima or Asma, but he said that he would not be satisfied if he only has one foot in paradise. Okay. And none of us should be satisfied until both feet are in paradise. If until that occurs, you haven't made it. Okay. Until that occurs, you have not made it. Do not get comfortable thinking that you are somebody. Okay. Do not allow for your heart to feel self-satisfaction. Always be striving to be better. Let's continue. The origins of either of these states relates to the company one keeps from either camp. For a man's character is that of the company he keeps. Thus, if a man achieves any state, inevitably his companions will be affected by it. Okay. And so we have the scent of a pure man in the East will diffuse and heal the sick in the West. Okay. So to achieve such states, you have to watch the company that you keep. If you are around people of self-satisfaction, then it's easier for you to feel self-satisfied. But if you're around people of contemplation, work, and lack of contentment, you will be with those people, okay? For this reason, Luqman, the full moon of wisdom, advised his son to keep close company with people of knowledge, right? And that becomes increasingly difficult towards the end of time, and it's increasingly difficult today to close yourself around people of knowledge, because a lot of people today are content, and they think that I've made it. I have a house, I have a family, I have a car, I have a good job, right? But all the while, what is the state of your heart? Are you near to Allah, or are you distant? He compared the effect of the reviving light of wisdom upon the heart to that of a lush downpour upon the barren earth. Okay, and we know that even on a barren earth, when the water hits it, that vegetation begins to sprout. Even in the most barren, dry regions of the world, when vegetation hits it, it rejuvenates that seed that may have been dry for years, right? And the foliage begins to grow. And this is the same with wisdom, okay? When it strikes into even the most barren of hearts, right? Even the most dead of hearts, if wisdom strikes it, it will begin to grow, okay? And it will begin to come alive. It might be more dead than alive, but we have to keep ourselves in the position and in the ranks of the righteous people, the people of knowledge, okay? All right. Discussion. Before I begin, I see my sisters here. Thank you for coming. Do you have any questions about what we just read? Comments? No. Okay, we will continue.
No, sound like I couldn't do my mute. I'm sorry. Sound like no, that was good. I'm ready to begin again.
Okay. All right. The comprehensive root of the heart's disease, according to Imam Maulud, is the love of the ephemeral world, the love of this world, the love of this dunya. Okay. Doesn't mean that you can't love people in this world, right? But know that each one of us at some point are going to depart from each other. Your house is going to depart from you. Your friends are going to depart from you. Your family is going to depart from you. Okay, it is ephemeral. It does not last forever. Which he cites as the opinion of Imam al-Halawi and Imam Ibn Ashur. Ibn Abbas said that if a covetousness, that it was covetousness, tama'ah. These are differences of opinion regarding the mother cause of diseases of the heart, but their differences are shades of understanding rather than alternative paradigm or paradigm, I'm sorry. When Imam Ibn Ashur says that is the love of power and authority, it comes down to love of the world. What are power and authority over other branches of the world? Imam Ibn Attallah, okay, he died in 709 Hijri, 1309 Gregorian calendar, who is often quoted in his book and mentions by name in the passage of Ibn Maulud's poem, was a master of the science of the heart. His book of aphorisms is one of the most highly regarded masterpieces in Islamic spiritual tradition. His 35th aphorism in that collection reads, "The source of every disobedience, indifference, and passion is self-satisfaction. The source of every obedience, vigilance, and virtue is dissatisfaction with oneself." It is better for you to keep company with an ignorant man dissatisfied with himself than to keep company with a learned man satisfied with himself. For that knowledge is there in a self-satisfied scholar. And what ignorance is there in an unlearned man dissatisfied with himself? Hold on for 1 second. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to back up here and we're just going to discuss this, where it says the source of every disobedience, indifference, and passion is self-satisfaction. Okay, and every source of obedience, vigilance, and virtue is dissatisfaction with oneself. Very important. Very, very, very important. Okay. Do not become content, because that's what leads to the hardening of the heart. Do not become content. Okay, let's continue. In our day, there is an urgency to root out the feeling of shame. There are self-help books to show how to exercise or to excise this out of the soul. But dissatisfaction with oneself is a very thing that causes people to reflect and reevaluate, which is requisite for spiritual success. Okay, so we know if you run across people, oh, I don't have shame, or I don't want to be a hypocrite, or type of these, and I'm not saying that I'm better. I've used these things. I've said these things in my life, to justify actions. Okay, but know that contentment with your action, that satisfaction with your action is a sign that you're being tricked by Shaitan. Okay, a believer is not content with his wrong action. A believer wants to remove that wrong action and return to proper action. Okay, a believer is never content, is never satisfied. Okay, with himself. And so we see that, especially in today's world, with the different movements, where love is love, and you can't say that anybody's wrong anymore. You can't, you said, oh, you're shaming people, right? It's a trick to get you to become satisfied with the actions of everyone. Okay, and we know that many of these actions go against the Sharia in this religion. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. Okay, Sidi Ahmed Zarruq said that there are 3 signs being overly content with the soul. The first is being sensitive to one's own rights and indifferent to the rights of others. And so that's like being selfish, right? You want everybody to treat you a certain way, but you refuse to treat others a certain way. Okay, and this is what Sidi Ahmed Zarruq is saying is a sign of an overly content soul. In Islam, one's responsibilities preponderate over one's rights. Okay, which means that you should fulfill your responsibilities to others first. Okay, and if Allah chooses for your rights to be fulfilled, so be it. But you should fulfill your rights or your responsibilities, right, without concerning yourself with your right. And who is the prime example of one who gave and fulfilled his responsibility, but gave up his rights, the Prophet Muhammad SAW, on numerous occasions. The seerah is filled with our Prophet Muhammad SAW fulfilling his responsibilities to others and foregoing his rights. Okay, and that's how we should become as human beings, following the example of the best of creation. Okay, the second sign is ignoring one's own faults as if he has none, while being preoccupied with the faults of others. Okay, so we see that all the time. Of course, when you have people that are backbiting and talking about others, you know, what do they say? There was a saying in the Bible, I don't remember it verbatim, you know, but it touches on, you know, you're concerning yourself with the pebble in someone else's eye, and you're not paying attention to the plank in your eye. Okay, so the second sign is ignoring one's own faults as if he has none, while being preoccupied with the faults of others. Okay, and this is a sign of an overly content soul. The poet once said, "A contented eye does not see fault." The third sign is giving oneself too much leniency. And we see that, okay? If you see people that are older, right, you see that they become more spiritual as they get older. Younger people have a difficult time being spiritual because they have the feeling of youth and vigor, okay? So they're lenient on themselves. Oh, I got years to get it right. Oh, I'll pray. Oh, you know, I'm this way right now. I'll start practicing when I get older, right? All of these statements that we tell ourselves, right? We're giving ourselves too much leniency. The reality is that we don't know. Allah can call us to account right now if he chooses to. He can call us to account right now. So we must not be lenient on ourselves. Okay. We have to have a heart that is not content with where it is. Okay. And a heart that is in constant repair. If we sense ourselves becoming satisfied with our actions, know that it is a sign of a diseased heart. Okay, so it's 30 minutes into the class. I'm going to go ahead and stop now. As far as this is where we're going to start next week. Are there any questions on what I've read? Okay, all right, fantastic. So like I said, we're going to start right here. Inshallah, God willing, you guys will join me. We have here on Zoom. I send the link out. We're on YouTube live as well, or Facebook live as well. God willing, you guys will join us, right? Tomorrow, when we do the Mutasar al-Aqdari, right? The Maliki fiqh book that touches on purification and prayer. Last week, we talked about the wajib, or the obligatory, the recommended, okay, and then or the sunnah, and now we're going to go into the recommended of the prayer, and then we'll get on to, after this section, we'll be talking about how to fix your prayer if there are any mistakes. And then the last 30 minutes tomorrow, after we pray Maghrib, we will be going and making we will be going and reading the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I pray to Allah that you all will join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock, and we can have a successful class filled with learning. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end the class. Thank you guys for coming. I love you for the sake of Allah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Assalamu alaikum, guys. See you tomorrow.